You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now, your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku, here for the Saturday night Shooting the Breeze episode. I want to thank everyone who pitched in and posted topics on the Discord that we should discuss tonight. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, look at the description at the top section of the description for this episode. Look in the chat. Pinned at the top of the chat is also the link to join the Discord. Join the Discord. There's tons of information on there, and every day we're adding more and more stuff. So make sure you come through and join the Discord. On the Discord, several topics were posted for me to go over, like I said, tonight for the Shoot the Breeze episode. Before we get down to the Shoot the Breeze topics, I want to remind you guys that this show is a part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. You guys should be checking out other shows on the network.
This is DAX. You tune into the Harsh Reality Podcast, providing you with social commentary on the news affecting our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where Black problems are addressed with Black solutions.
Yes, indeed. Make sure to check out the Queen's Council podcast as well. Hopefully we're looking to add a new show on KWAZ Radio, a new female-led show. So keep your ears open for that. In the meantime, subscribe to KWAZ Radio on YouTube. Subscribe to them on YouTube and subscribe to the other shows that are on KWAZ Radio. All right, business is out the way, and we can now start talking about the Shoot the Breeze. First, let me shout out the chat room. I see the Pro-Black Perspective is here saying super busy already. Peace. Derico Kubo Photography says peace, family. NYC Beauties is here. NYC Beauties is here. New York Sports Archive is here saying peace. Saying justice for Ronald Green. Chuck de Louisiana State Police. That story I haven't, I'm kind of worn out from the trauma. So I've taken my time to look into the video surrounding that. But I heard it was bad, right? Kevin Care 42 posts the video, so if you want, you could go and check out the video. Actually, the video he posted is of the New Mexico police who got some love in the streets, I guess, right? Black Excellence says, love the love that he got. He gets no respect from me. NYC Sports Archive says it must have smelled like bacon, donuts, and shit. All right. So thank you guys for being here. That's all the folks who are here right now. Let's start with the first topic. First topic comes from Life with Nelly. And it's simply sundown towns. How many of you have, in recent times, been through, or been in a sundown town. How many of you have been in a sundown town? Let me get that out there first. Oh yeah, by the way, for the previous winners of the t-shirt giveaway, I'm just waiting for the orders to come back. And again, this is why we have to have our own little situation. And in fact, if the t-shirts become a thing, I'm going to invest in my own ability to create and print my t-shirts at home. But the wait times in the queue, I guess, is so long. So you guys just bear with me. You will get what is promised. Just give me some time to get the shirts, and then from there I'll get them out to you ASAP. All right. So for those who don't know, like, white neighborhoods in the United States used to have this thing, used to uphold, segregation, right, by excluding non-whites, right, from entering their townships, counties, suburbs, what have you. Right, it was a practice up until I believe the 80s, and if I'm not, widespread. And I think I've heard people say in recent years that that there are still a few sundown towns, quiet as it's kept. Right, quiet as it's kept. There's still a few sundown towns. But how many of you have been around a sundown town? Right. In the chat room, hold on, let me switch my view so I could see this chat room proper. Yeah, the chat room is moving. Okay, that's neat. I've never seen the chat room move like that. Derico Cool Photography says sundown towns still exists. Virginia, Michigan, Alabama. Kevin Care42 says he's been through Glens Falls, New York. Yeah, I heard about Glens Falls before. Another sundown town here in NYC is Howard Beach. So, historically in New York, I know Howard Beach was. Is it still that now? Like, I think I've been through there recently, actually. But yeah, I know, I remember hearing about it in the news back home about the kid that they ran down and killed from Howard Beach back in the 80s. If I'm not mistaken. Kevin Care says Staten Island is another sundown town. The Rico Cooper Photography gives some examples. Pongo, Virginia, that sounds like a sundown town. Pongo. He says Owasso, Michigan, that too sounds like a sundown town. Kevin Care 42 says there's a book called Sundown Towns by Joseph Lowens. So you guys can check that out. KW Don 7 says Sundown Towns, a hidden dimension of American racism by James W. Lowen. Is that what you meant, Kevin Care 42? Is the reference of KW Don, and by the way, shout out to KW Don 7. Is that reference, is the reference that Kevin Care posted, is it meant to be what KW Don 7 says? They seem kind of similar. Kevin Care 42 says Fishtown in Philadelphia. So, I guess the modern day version of the sundown town is that you're really not welcome, although you might get to be up in the spot. You're really not welcome there, and you'll be shown and meant to feel it too. Back in the day, the sundown town had a real sinister type vibe to it. As a matter of fact, the show that was a big hit last summer, Lovecraft Country, there's an episode kind of early on where they show you the sundown town, how the sheriffs were like real fucking with them to get up out of there. And not only that, but as they were being ushered out of the town, there was a waiting clan or something from like from like a neighboring county or something like that. Not in Lovecraft, but like in general, this is what they kind of did. Revolutionary Matron is here, and Kevin K42 clarifies that the KW Don 7 mention of the book, that's the reference he was talking about, right? Revolutionary Matron is here, greetings to her. Was chopping it up with her and General Abzu, or Derico Cooper, on the Discord on Thursday. I had a real nice conversation after that episode I did on Thursday. KW Don 7 also says Sundown Town, a novel by Kevin Corley and Douglas E. King, is another resource. KW Don 7, what about in Canada? Are you familiar with sundown towns in Canada? You know, that'll be an interesting thing to understand too, if in Canada you had those sundown towns as well. All right. So yeah, so that's the history of the sundown town. But to be honest, right? Let's talk about this for a second. If I'm honest, I don't really have a problem with a sundown town, right? If I'm honest, I think that's one of the problems with black folks. I could bet you money Black Wall Street had white folks walking around through it. You know, I've lived in the projects before here in the States, and I've seen strange white dudes like just walking around through the neighborhood 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Meanwhile, my black ass has to have my guard up, my shoulders tight, my fist balled up inside that same neighborhood, and this real seedy looking white boy is just walking through the neighborhood, right? The reality is, you want to police your neighborhood, and that's something we should learn from these folks. You got to police your neighborhood. Same way I can't be in your mix, you get the fuck up out of mine, right? So I don't have a big problem with the sundown town. What say you folks about sundown towns? While you guys answer that, I will say Kevin K42 says there used to be sirens for the sunset. That's true. The sirens would go off, and that's the signal to get out. Some towns had signs that said, niggas, don't let the sun set on your ass here. You know? And hey, I say we should be doing the same type of stuff. Right? Like I said, I could bet you money Black Wall Street had white folks passing through. When you have these folks in your mix, and they're out here observing you and all that type of stuff, they know how to attack you too. They know what you have, what you don't have, you know. And plus, we know these, you know, based on the last episode as well, we know that these folks are some monsters. You don't know if they're trying to get at your children and all this old stuff. Yeah, so you don't want them in your neighborhood. Black folks need to adopt a sundown mentality as well. Kevin K42 says something interesting. He says the Uish do it in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Hey, I remember a time in Williamsburg. If you guys don't know, Williamsburg is a part of Brooklyn that used to be like a bunch of warehouses and stuff. Kind of dilapidated. Back in the day, a lot of Puerto Ricans, I think, used to stay on that side. But at some point, the Uish, you know, have taken it up, because what they did, because a lot of the buildings were like factories and stuff like that, they turned the floors of the factories into like apartments. And so they have these big open, what they call open floor plans and big windows, and, you know, and because it takes a little bit to get out to Williamsburg, right? It takes a little bit to get out to Williamsburg. Even though it's right here in Brooklyn, it takes you a little minute to drive there, much less to take a you know, public transportation there. And so they have a nice little world in the back there. Nice food, nice eateries, nice things to do. And at one time, like Kevin K is saying, it was kind of a thing like, you take your, it's dark now, take your black ass up out of here. All right, Yusef Hawkins was killed in Bensonhurst. I think I might have been thinking about Yusef more so than the other spot that Kevin K mentioned earlier, Howard Beach. I think I might have been thinking about the Yusef thing a little bit more than that. But yeah, I mean, that's what you do. You protect your neighborhoods. You protect your neighborhoods. If you have an enemy, your enemy should not be able to roam around, right, where you roam. KW.7 says there are a few examples of sundown towns in Canada. Leamington, Ontario is one example I just looked up. Okay, so we see how these folks have it. In the Caribbean, you have a lot of these gated communities, right? Like if you go to Nassau, there's this gated community called Lyford Key, and there's an armed guard at the gate, right? So yeah, Michael Griffin was killed in 1986 in Howard Beach. Yeah, so it's between those two things I'm thinking about. Daily Affirmations by Pauline is there saying good evening to you too, right? But yeah, that's like in the Caribbean, they had these gated communities far out, and you basically the natives couldn't go in the back there, which is just mind blowing to me. So that's the sundown towns. Doesn't seem like we have any more comments about sundown towns. Let's go to topic number 2 from Life with Nelly. Let's go to topic number 2. While I post this, Revolutionary Matron says all over the Midwest, this is a reality. There are some places you don't stop during the day in Michigan, Ohio, and India. There are some places you don't stop during the day. Like I heard a joke, I forget, was it Kevin Hart or Jimmy Fox told a joke. I don't want to be in Mississippi on an overcast day, right? So I feel that way about certain places, Alabama, Mississippi, stuff like that. But to hear it about Michigan is interesting, Ohio and Indiana. I could see Indiana and Ohio though. So maybe I shouldn't be that surprised, right? Kevin K says the majority of sundown towns are in the Midwest. Absolutely. That is true, now that I think about it. So topic number 2, again, this topic comes from Life with Nelly, who's usually here. Says, blackface. Why are people still doing this today when they know the history behind it? Let me give you guys a second to hear that prompt and type in your suggestions in the meantime, right?
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Yeah, so I see there's some stuff going on in the chat with the previous topic. Kevin K42 says Illinois is notorious for their sundown towns. KW.7 says Leamington was also one of the few Canadian municipalities included in the Negro Motorist Green Book. Oh, is that right? Okay. Yeah, so those were the responses for that first topic. I appreciate that, guys. The second topic is from Life with Nelly, who just joined the live stream. Topic 2 is blackface. Why are people still doing this today when they know the history behind it? Kevin K42 says people still do not respect black people. We are the punching bags. Life with Nelly responds to Kevin K42 and says that's so true, right? I think of it as a flex. It's a flex, and there's a couple flexes white folks pull. It's a flex to see what you're gonna do about it. It's a reminder. In fact, it's not even so much to see what you're gonna do about it. It's to see you have to confront this once again, and I think there's a certain joy they get out of it. they get a nice feeling just to see you have to deal with the shit, the frustration of it again, right? It's a flex. You know what's a big flex too? Let me see if I could create an example. Like a flex would be, you know, you go out there and you talk about how white folks in Europe were savages and all this type of stuff, right? Things that we know is true. And how, like, you know, similar to what Nick Cannon did. And you say that, you know, that these folks still have that savagery in their DNA. It's who they are. A white person will hear you say that, and to flex, they'll say to you, but you don't believe that about all white people, do you? That's a flex. Right? That's a flex. They don't ever ask that question when David Duke is spewing his bullshit. They don't ever stop David Duke and say, "You don't mean all black folks, right?" So it's a flex. They're trying to put you in that uncomfortable position and watch you squirm, right? As most of us tend to do anyway in those situations, right? And they get off on that. That's my take. What do you guys take on it? Why you guys answer that? Kevin K42 says, look at how the Democrats and Republicans gave the Asians a crime bill, right? Yeah, even on that political level, when they come and they tell you shit like, well, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. That's a flex. When they get into power and then they don't really do anything for you, anything they said they was going to do before, that's a flex. When they give the Asians, for example, crime bills and whatnot, that's a flex. And I wish black folks in America would understand the flexing that goes on all the time. Do they owe you reparations, for example? Sure they do. They don't give it to you. That's a flex. What you gonna do about it? KW7 says Drake was exposed for doing blackface. His mother is Jewish. You see what I'm saying? Black Excellence says we gotta stop putting all these groups in a monolith like they do to us. Exactly. I'm gonna be real honest with y'all. This whole idea like there's some good white folks now, I don't believe in this good white folks thing. Life with Nelly says, and they do say it a lot. KW7 says Justin Trudeau did blackface and my mother still insists on voting for him in the last election, saying he didn't know any better. That's bullshit. No disrespect. These folks know what they're doing. Like Revolutionary Matron says right here, they do blackface because they feel powerful. There's another way to make us a commodity and feign ignorance. I was watching some show recently, one of these kind of white action shows, like thrillers, right? And I forgot how he put it, man. I should have written it down. But you know, part of these folks' game is to feign ignorance, right? To do a bunch of shit, knowingly doing what they're doing, but then to pretend like they don't know. And I forgot how this white boy put it in this show, but it was perfect. You know, but yeah, absolutely, they do blackface to feel powerful. It's a flex, like I said, and the flex is power. You know, feel powerful, and just make a mockery of folks who look like you and I. Right? Is there any other comments on this topic for blackface? Why are people still doing this today when they know the history? Is there any more comments? You guys post those comments now as I set up the next topic. The next topic comes from Daily Affirmations by Pauline. And it goes, hold on, me Like this. It goes mental health. Why is there still a stigma when seeking help for mental issues in the Black community? Why is there a stigma when seeking help for mental issues in the Black community? What do you guys say about that? Revolutionary Matron says there's an online museum at Ferris State that shows all this blackface, and these are the books in their grandparents' basements. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. See, this idea that something dies off and stops is foolish. These things don't die off and stuff. A lot of this stuff becomes cultural. As Daily Affirmation by Pauline just says, do you think blackface is like a tradition to some? Absolutely. Doing the Nazi salute, that's a tradition for some folks. Reciting, singing about Thor and all that old dumb shit, that's, you know, that's their thing. There used to be this show on Cinemax. Very kind of violent, gory show. But this grifter who used to go about across the country. Again, it's some white folks. I can't remember the name right now. I just had it and lost it. But anyway, and he goes and he pretends to be a sheriff in this township. And he's a crook, but he goes and becomes a sheriff due to some circumstance that happens, right? And during a certain season, he was going up against these neo-Nazis, and they show a scene where this neo-Nazi grandfather was singing some type of Nazi lullaby, right? The show was called Banshee. Singing some type of lullaby, like a German or Nazi lullaby or something, right? Behind a certain closet, he has his robe and his swastika and all that kind of stuff. It's cultural. A lot of stuff is culture now, right? KW7 says there are parades of Yoruba doing blackface in Spain and the Netherlands. Exactly. That's an example of folks. I think, the Danish have some celebration that involves blackface, and Spain has it too, and they don't see anything wrong with it. Life with Nelly says they do blackface because they're trying to be like us. They know that we're royalty. That's an interesting take. That's an interesting take. Do you guys think that they're trying to be like us when they do blackface? Because for me, I've only seen it mockingly. Right? But that's an interesting take. Kevin Care 42 says the Asian rapper China Mac does it every day. That's a bit of a joke, but he has appropriated black culture. He doesn't paint his face or anything. He says if you call China Mac's people a chink, he'll go off on you. Yeah. And again, that's the thing where black folks don't police themselves, man. Something I said about sundown towns, you have to have a sundown society, a sundown culture. Right? Get these folks up out of there, man. These folks, you doing hip hop, and here comes a ooish or something sniffing around. Get them up out of there, man. You doing a Black Power meeting and some straggler, Urugu straggler walks, get him up out of there. You on Twitter having a conversation and here comes some Urugu. What does that mean? Get him up out of there. Anyway, Revolutionary Matron says, 1, seeking help for mental health issues is bad because society at large has many examples of locking people away in horrible conditions forever. Number 2, we are largely not treated in mental health settings. That's an interesting answer. What says the rest of you to what Revolutionary Matron just said? There's definitely the issue of a stigma. There's definitely an issue of a stigma, and I'll say something too. The person suffering is the first person, the primary person to create a stigma. Because when you start to have a mental breakdown, I'm certain you question your ability. You know, like I'm sure you start to say, "Man, I'm weak. I can't handle this stuff. Everyone else was handling it. How come I'm not able to handle it?" So there's that stigma, and like I said, the first stigma is created by the person who's suffering. Right? Revolutionary Matron does have a point though that you know, we've had some bad experiences going around these folks talking about mental health treatment. I remember when I was a kid, it was common to hear someone who lost their mind or something like that, and who went and got electroshock therapy up at Sundown, which was the crazy house, as we call it back home, right? But it was common to hear they're going to get electroshock therapy, and who knows what other combinations of drugs and all kind of stuff they're getting. That's why when people today will tell you, if you have some mentally, some person who's suffering some mental health issue, don't call the cops, man. The cops coming there and they killing that black person. People have lost their children right before their eyes who were having an episode. The cops came through and just killed them, Derico Cooper says they want to beat us so bad, that is why they tan and get Botox. Right? He's referring to the previous comment and question my life with Nelly. A white guy, I was working in this lab, and this white guy, he was crazy for sure. And he says to me, "Hey, do you get much time to go out and tan and get a tan?" And I watched this fool like, "What? Go out and get a tan? Do you see my complexion?" These dudes are goofy. Kevin K 42 says Robert Downey Jr. did blackface in Tropical Thunder. He did, and he didn't really get no shit for that. Revolutionary Matron says 3, to continue with her list. Our real issues are ignored. 4, we have a logical reaction to an illogical situation, but we expected to stay docile. 5, running away was a mental health issue. Running away was a mental health issue. You think, are you speaking of kids who ran away? Is that a mental health issue? I've never thought of it that way. I've never thought of it that way. That's never crossed my mind. But you might be on to something. Right? Our real issues are ignored. We have a logical reaction to an illogical... that's the thing. If you have a logical reaction to an illogical situation, you will be deemed crazy. Especially when everyone is going along with the illogical situation. That's the whole thing black folks go through. We live in and through an illogical situation. That's a fact. And when we have logical reactions to this, right? When we have logical reactions to this shit, people then want to say, well, you're what's the word they use again? You're an identity extremist or some shit like that, right? But no, we're just responding to the bullshit that we have to deal with, right? Black excellence says we are always looked at as not having pain. They will always question us as if we are not suffering. Absolutely. Our traumas have never been healed. Daily Affirmation by Pauline says, I often wonder why the families call the cops instead of an ambulance. Yeah, call a mental health, facility. Call a mental health facility. Revolutionary Matron says in reference to number 5, running away from slavery was considered. And then number 6, mental health issues are considered weak internally and externally. Yeah, that's what I was getting at. I mean, the first person to question, I've known some people who've had nervous breakdowns, and I think the first thing they ask themselves, and I think that it actually adds to the traumas that they're going through, is why am I breaking down when everyone else around me is dealing with the same shit and I'm breaking down? By the way, kudos to all of you who are here tonight, because with what we go through as a people, it's a surprise in some ways that you guys aren't somewhere right now shooting up heroin or on meth or some shit like that, right? Me included, by the way, right? So kudos to you guys. The life that we live in and the shit that we have to endure, oh man, it's a wonder not more of us are crazy. I mean, certifiably crazy. KW7 says, I'm looking at tanning this summer, laughing his ass off. Yeah, Dorico's laughing his ass off too. Yeah, dude, a white boy, pasty white boy turned to me and said, "Yeah, man, do you get much time to go out there and tan, man?" I'm like, another white guy was there after he left. The other white guy said to me, "Is this fucking guy crazy or something like that? Like, what's going on here?" Daily Affirmation by Pauline says, people running from the cops could indeed have a mental health issue, and they run because they are afraid. Revolution Matron says, yes, children too. The DSM is a bitch with identifying what normal objects are. NYC Beauty says, ScrewTube is blocking my comments. Are they blocking your comments? Wow. Dorico Cool Photography says, I had one ask me if I want to get a tan, shaking my damn head. I just looked at them. These dudes are insane. All right, they definitely don't want a logical reaction to their BS. Absolutely, because trust me, the logical reaction wouldn't be what we're doing, as a group right now in this day and age, right? NYC Sports Archive says every day is trauma for us. My girlfriend Mary Jane keeps me sane. Mary Jane, keeps me sane. Absolutely. You guys post any last comments you have for that topic about mental health issues. Post them while I get the next topic going. All right, post those now.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Absolutely. The next topic would be, this should be interesting. Let's see how everyone responds to this one. And by the way, on the Discord, you guys can actually see the topics being posted. So you guys can see the topic being posted too. And you could prepare yourself during, before the show as to what topics there are and what things you'd like to highlight about these topics. NYC Beauty says white privilege is a mental disorder. Absolutely. Daily Affirmations by Pauline says the scariest thing is that you can't tell which people have deep mental health issues because they keep them hidden until they have a crisis. Then all heck breaks loose when they do. Yeah, to me that's a revolving door, in that there's good to that and there's bad to that. In a lot of other places outside the US, if you have something that's under the umbrella of mental health issue, let's say you have something like OCD or something, when I was coming up back home, you would be considered crazy. They just slap the term on you, crazy, and that's it. Boom, he's crazy. And then your life will be dictated by that label. The ceiling for you would be pretty low. And people will treat you accordingly. And that's not good. There's a lot of folks who will, and I talked about this in recent shows, the education system is another part of this too, where you're calling some people slow and retarded and all this kind of stuff back in the day. Here in the States, there's a good to it in that you could get some treatment to keep, and once you stay on the treatment, you'll be good, and you'll seem normal, and so people will deal with you normally and stuff like that. So it's kind of a revolving door kind of item for me, right? There's a good to it, and there's bad to it, but there's definitely some good to it as well. Dorico Cooper Photography says, I had a white boy tell me his white friend was more African than me because he was from South Africa. Yeah, that's the danger that we have in this situation as well. We have a situation where these folks, there's a big Hollywood actress there's two of them from South Africa. One of them has these little boys that she raises as girls. That's a real shame, and someone should have ran up on her and tanned her eye for that shit. You know what I'm saying? That's a goddamn shame. But yeah, once you allow folks, this is what happened when your boy got all those Indians up out of Africa. Those Indians and Asians took their land and sent them packing and had them crying in Mississippi masala and all that old shit. Once you start having these anchor kids in Africa who are from non-African people, they're gonna start, they're going to naturally use that as their claim to access to the land and whatnot, right? It's a problem. Black Excellence says, to me, BLM was hijacked from the beginning. It was never ours. Yemi Yemi says, hello room. Yemi Yemi, I don't think I've seen you here before. Have you been here before, Yemi Yemi? And Yemi Yemi, if it's your first time, please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and click the bell to be notified for when I'm online again or when I upload new content. Also, Yemi Yemi, we have a Discord server. You could join the Discord server. I'll talk more about it a little bit later. You can also join our Discord server, where we have a community of like-minded folks discussing and doing different things that you could also be a part of. Black Excellence says, when you read comic books, many, if not all, of the heroes are mentally ill. Revolutionary Matron says, BLM was never about black families, so it's not about Black Lives Matter. That's absolutely true. Daily Affirmations by Pauline says, exactly, the islands do label people as crazy for life. There's a very little privacy as compared to the US. This is why many leave for other countries if or when they can. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We've seen this, right? We've seen folks get labeled, and that's it for you. That's a damn shame too. The places, and because a lot of these islands are so small too, it's really confining, and it reinforces the things that led you to your predicament, your mental health predicament anyway. It's wild, man. It's wild. It's wild. Dorico Cooper Photography says, I'm like, how do you think I got here? You think you're more African than me just because your ancestors were colonizers and they stayed and gave birth to you and you grew up on stolen property? Absolutely. And then Dorico says, this is my stop. Yeah. Yemi Yemi says, I watch you, but this is the first time I have watched live. I am subscribed. Okay, Yemi, thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for letting me know. There's no way for me to know if you are already subscribed or not, but thanks for being here, and I hope you enjoy being here live with us. Right? Black Lives Matter. What do you think will happen to the movement in the future? The movement for Black Lives Matter will go away ultimately. Not fully, because these things hardly ever do go away fully. There'll be little bullshit murmurings about them, right? They'll be small. It's like the Black Panthers. There's still a Black Panther party, but you don't really hear nothing about them, right? The problem with Black Lives Matter, as some have said, but in particular, I want to repeat what revolutionary matron said. Black Lives Matter never cared about the black family, never cared about black men too, I might add. And this goes to what I always say on the show, especially in the past, is that when you have that feminism shit in black community, when you have that lesbianism shit in black community, and I'm not saying, you know, let there not be lesbians. Hey man, if that's what you want to do, go do what you want to do. But the problem with that lifestyle is that people push that lifestyle before what is the moral thing to uphold first, and that's your people, right? So there'll be, you know, because it was started by lesbians and feminists and all that stuff. You knew it wasn't nothing to do with black men nor the black family, because you can't have the black family without the black man, right? Yeah, so that's my take on Black Lives Matter. Does anyone else have a take on Black Lives Matter? Do you think it will go away permanently, like no chapters, nothing? Or do you think, like I said, it'll be kind of like how we have a Black Panther Party still around, but no one really checks for it, right? What do you guys think about it? While you guys are answering or providing your final comments on that topic, let me go and find the next topic. The next topic should be a good one. The next one's going to be a good one. So let me post it in the room. What topic is this now? This has to be like the fourth topic. Topic 4. Okay. Let's do it like this, since you want to give me a headache. All right, so there's the next topic. Let me go back and look at let's go back and see what folks have to say. The Revolutionary Matron says BLM leaders have profited and they will drag them out every once in a while to get a soundbite or photo opportunity for the future. Researchers as representative of Black life today, absolutely. Pro-Black Perspective says BLM would be like BPP and UNIA, though possibly like NAACP. We'll see. I agree with that. In fact, that just shows you I didn't even think of the NAACP or UNIA, which are still all active, right? But that's kind of what happened to them. They just kind of fell to the wayside, you know. The other thing about BLM, to be honest, and you have to be wary about stuff like that. Like if you're running a real black political organization, right? You can always tell the quality of such a thing from the disciples who pass through the organization and build organizations themselves, which is one of the things I think organizations kind of have lost, at least from what I've seen around New York City. Like, who's the big guy? Who's the big guy coming up in the hottest, you know, quote unquote, hottest organization around New York City? Like, what is the biggest organization, black political organization around NYC? Maybe D12 or something like that? I don't know. Right? But who is the person who you're hearing you're hearing little things about, little murmurings about who's coming up through the organization and about to or has already spun out and done and created their own organization in line with the organization that they passed through. I know a lot of people in organizations and they're doing the same shit from one year to the next. There's no movement. There's a lot of elders who are stopping the youth from even being able to speak in some of this shit. You know, as I witnessed in a D12 meeting, you know, so You know, what's the organization now that has the hot shot who's coming up through it, right? Daily Affirmation by Pauline says, I think they will always be here and rise up to protest murders of innocent people. Yeah, but they'll be backburner people for sure. KW Dawn 7 says, BLM will still function as controlled opposition. Yes, absolutely. All right, Dorico Cooper Photography says, Black Lives Matter is wearing the wrong name tag. All Lives Matter is the correct name for the organization, right? Yeah, I mean, come on. These guys are clowns. I mean, just look at the first couple of people who started it, right? You think D-Ray cares about someone who sounds like who sounds like and talks like me? Nah. So the third topic is, as Kevin Care 42 says, let's get the likes up. Well, to get the likes up, share the show on your social media, right? Invite others to come to the live stream and check it out, and to like the video as they're here. You know, Daily Affirmation by Pauline says, I believe all lives matter, and they do. BLM means that we matter too. Yeah, I mean, I have a problem just with the appeal of, we matter too. I mean, if they don't see us as mattering, that's fine, right? But we have to make sure that we cover our asses in the meantime, right? Life for Nelly says she shares the show on her Twitter. I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate that. Let me go back up. So yeah, topic number 3. So we're done with that topic. Sorry, is this topic number 3 or number 4? Whatever it is. This topic is about values. Why do we accept their ideas about the value or importance of anything? Like, what is money? What is beautiful? What is a family? Do the established definitions for these structures serve our community? Right? What values do we accept? Wow, why do we accept the ideas about the value or importance of anything? What is money? What is beautiful? What is a family? For example, do the established definitions for these structures serve our community? Like I talk about in the show, you have to name your shit. Now, for the name to have to reach the masses, to be widespread, you have to have power to push it, right? These guys have had the power now for a long time, and they, we are kind of, surviving in what they've created. I mean, imagine there's animals like on the continent and these folks name this shit. I mean, it's wild, right? But we got to start naming and importantly, defining things ourselves. And we got to define what is valuable to Black folks, right? What is money, right? Money is a means to an end, right? What is beautiful? Well, Black is beautiful, but without power, Black being beautiful is nothing, right? What is a family, right? I believe that family is what you're born into, but family is also what you create. I think you guys are now my family, right? You guys are now the people who I choose to have around me, right? But we have to sit down as a people, and again, I hate to be that broken record, but this is where you got to have education, curriculum that defines the values that Black people want to have. Give it to the children, let them grow up in it, right? Let them become fully immersed in it. Real Cool Tori says Black Lives Matter. I read that before. I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong stuff now. Dorico Cooper Photography says, we were the first bonds of the U.S. We are the money. As enslaved Africans, the wealth we created, Urugu, was so big, it was measured in GDP. 4 million enslaved Africans created more wealth than, say, 40 million so-called free African Americans. That's actually a hell of a point. That's actually a hell of a point there, right? Daily Affirmation by Pauline says, we accept their values because those who have the money have the power, right? Dorico Cooper Photography says, natural beauty is the enemy of the beauty shop. Absolutely. We got Jerry Wallace here. I've seen Jerry Wallace here before, saying peace, family. I'll say peace to Jerry. Dorico Cooper Photography says, why is it that we make up only 12 to 13% of the population but purchase more than 40% of the cosmetics? Yeah, we've been indoctrinated to think that beauty standards really come from them. We don't even have a thought process as to what's beautiful to us, right? But we can change that. We can change that. You know, I like drawing and stuff, right? And I was thinking about doing something, and I was looking up some books on different art styles and stuff like that. And you know, someone had to write a book about how to draw black people, and I thought that was really interesting. That someone had to write a book. How do you draw black people? And it took me back to like being in school and taking art classes in secondary school and stuff. And it's like, no, you really don't learn how to draw a black person. You just draw them, right? But when you think of like an education, right? Like a protocol for education, you can't just leave this stuff up to chance. So it made me think, like, you know, when you're talking about like an art curriculum, right? Well, chief in the art curriculum has to be like learning how to draw black people. It's really weird, you know, and because we don't interact with the black aesthetic as much as we should, right? And frankly, what we do look at with the black aesthetic is really bodies and stuff like that, shapes and all this kind of stuff, right? Because we don't really interact with it properly, you know, we don't have a standard for what we think is beautiful. I've seen it enough times on social media, like a woman will post a picture, she has a nice body, this, that, and the other. Dudes will come and say, man, she's fine as hell, but you can't even see her face in the picture. You're seeing her, you know, her general appearance, and damn, she's fine, eh? But you can't even see this woman's face, right? We think bodies are beauty and all that kind of stuff. Revolutionary Matron says we must function as a group. The individual is always vulnerable. If we do not accept their values, we would change the whole game. And that's a good word on that right there, right? Daily Affirmation by Pauline says we purchase so many cosmetics because we don't recognize our natural beauty. I see so many black women who transform themselves to look almost robotic and unreal, yet everyone praises their looks. Kevin Carefoy too says investing in black will make you wealthy, right? Yeah, I mean, we're busy. You know, me personally, I'm not a big makeup person. If you have to because of something, you know, for some reason, sure, but it shouldn't be, you know, I shouldn't be looking to hire you after to do drywall work in my apartment. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like some of these folks are doing full bondo and body work, right? Drywall type work, and you know, you're going too far with this stuff now, right? I see women will cover their beautiful hair with some Brazilian or some Asians hair, man. It's just wild, right? It's just wild. While I'm doing this, let me cue up the next statement. This statement will be, I'm not going to label them topics anymore because I lost track already. But the next statement is an interesting one. This one comes from Revolutionary Matron. I hope you guys don't mind me pointing out who it comes from. All right. So this is the next topic about propaganda from Revolutionary Matron. While you guys look over the topic, let me just hit a little quick station break. I'll be back on the other side.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
This is DAX. You tune into the Harsh Reality Podcast, providing you with social commentary on the news affecting our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the pro-black perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Yes, indeed. Also check out the Queen's Council, also on KWAZ Radio. In the chat, Revolutionary Matron says, our bodies are only identified as objects for gratification or means of production. We are so brainwashed, we think that it's better to spend $80K for a degree to get a job. What the F a job gonna do for you, right? Our bodies are only identified as objects for gratification or means of production. We are so brainwashed, we think that it's better to spend $80K for a degree to get a job. What the F a job gonna do for you? Daily Affirmations by Pauline says, I was on that weave train and then had my awakening. Good for Daily Affirmations by Pauline. Y'all should give it up for Daily Affirmations by Pauline. Dorico says, Lil Kim was fine. What happened? Serena was fine too. What happened? Right? Daily Affirmations by Pauline says to Dorico, Lil Kim is an ideal example of going too far. Right? Dorico says facts. Right? But let's talk about propaganda though. Right? And by the way, I created a channel for propaganda and documentaries on the Discord. You guys, when you hop on the Discord, if you come across propaganda and documentaries that you think folks like us should be tuned into, post a link in that channel on the Discord. It'll be good to, also check out the conscious video section too, man. Like, it'll be good to start filling out some of those channels with good information that perhaps, we could discuss on the Discord itself. I'm actually thinking about doing an evening, maybe Fridays, an evening a month or so, where we just chat it up on the Discord, Revolutionary Mama says 100. And then Dorico Cooper Photography says he's referring to what Revolutionary Matron said earlier about the $80K to get a job. And Dorico says it'll leave you just over broke. That's what a job stands for. Just over broke. And that's one of the realest things you could hear. When you hear someone tell you a job means just over broke, it's the kind of thing to make you sit down in a doldrum for the rest of the day. That's what a job is, right? But no one's talking about propaganda, right? And I think this prompt came about because we recently were talking about like Sheikh Anta Diop and his they came before Columbus, and how folks have exaggerated some of what he said, but also folks are falling into the trap. Some of our folks, some black folks too, fall into this trap of just because they exaggerated what Sheikh Anta Diop was saying, not making it easy to debunk it. Now folks are out here debunking Sheikh Anta Diop left and right. Omar Wali, Dwayne Wong. So some of you who, if you're in the mix with us on Twitter, Some of you will be familiar. He also participated in that Abrahamic religions discussion a little while ago, right? But even he, I think KW Dawn 7 might have sent that to me. Even he is debunking that. And I say this. I hinted at it on the show and I said it outright on the Discord, and I'll say it here now. Listen, we got to start engaging in propaganda ourselves. If we want our people to do better, be better, and succeed by the end of time, you know, we have to engage in propaganda. In fact, I've talked about it at length on the show. Talked about it on the Discord too. All the stories we should be writing should be positive propaganda. The pictures that we paint, the art that we do, the music that we create, it should all be positive propaganda. It should all be about uplift. Not bitches and hoes and all this old shit, but about uplift. And like Revolutionary Matron says right here, she says these tools are necessary because we don't often understand what they are, that they are using propaganda against us to set the standard for our values. Absolutely. When Snoop Dogg says bitches ain't nothing but hoes and tricks and all that old shit, that, you know, even I still remember that line, right? Like, that stays with you. And if you're not strong-willed or you know, or knowledgeable enough, you will repeat that shit in your own life. You know. So this idea that you want to debunk what folks are saying that uplifts you, I would warn against that stuff. Because listen, white folks and their quote-unquote knowledge has been debunked left and right, and they still go with it. For example, we talk in code sometimes here. We talk about the Uish. They say that like 6 million of them died, right? I was reading a document where that number has changed. They've dropped it to 4, and I think now they have it at about 2. And from what I understand, there's a plaque. I've forgotten the name of the location, but there's a plaque commemorating the Holocaust that used to say 6, and they quietly changed it, I think, to 2 million now, right? And by the way, a lot of the people a lot of the Uish scholars and stuff actually say it's only about 100,000, 200,000 people who suffered. But they don't make no big announcements to debunk the shit that they've told you about yourself. So why are you doing that work? Right? Why are you doing that work? What was the next part of that? Yeah, so like Revolutionary Matron said in this prompt, pick a narrative and exploit it fully. And that's what we got to do. We're not doing it nearly enough. You know, I'm a big sci-fi fan. Huge sci-fi fan. Me and Dorico Cooper was talking about this on the Discord the other night with Revolutionary Matron. I'm a huge sci-fi fan, but let's be real. Whose sci-fi am I going to watch? Whose sci-fi am I reading? If I listen to an audio drama, whose sci-fi am I listening to? Who are the protagonists? Right? I used to love the Walking Dead, both the comic and the show. But in the Walking Dead, you don't see no black folks unless you assume the zombies are the black folks. You know? Daily Affirmations by Pauline says the prompt that you recently provided is an example of the type movies and comics, aka propaganda, we should be distributing to the world. Need to have an in the publishing and movie industry. So Daily Affirmations by Pauline, I like that you brought that up because I want to say something. The prompt that I put up, I know you had done your first 2 paragraphs. Continue writing. I realized, because what happened was when I set it up. I was thinking we could have kind of Franken written this story, right? But instead of that, what I realized makes much better sense. Everyone write a short story. Now we need to define, and this is something that we should do as a collective, not just I shouldn't be the one just stating it all the time. As a collective, we should define, are we trying to go for a 10-page story, 15-page story, 20-page story? What's the length? There's certain little concepts we should be on the same track with, because ultimately what I think will be dope is if I write a story based on that prompt, General Abzu writes a story based on a prompt, you write a story, etc., etc. I think that where, let's say my story might be weak in an area where your story is strong, and we could adapt the part of, that part of your story that strengthens mine. Or maybe General Abzu has a much better secondary story. And so that second, and then together we put this, create this large, this community story, so to speak, right? That has the best of what everyone brought to the table. So what I will say, if you saw the prompt, if you see the prompt on Discord, go ahead and write a story. We do need to talk about, just so that we have things tidy going forward, we do need to talk about length of story, or how many words we want in our story, or, this, that, and the other. Now, Daily Affirmation Report says something else here that I want to be clear about too. Daily Affirmation says we need to have an a quote-unquote in the publishing and music, in the publishing and movie industry. Here's what I'll say about that. While we still have access to the internet, we need to be making moves. I don't know if you guys pay attention to this stuff. There are some folks out in, black folks in California, between California and Atlanta. I'll name one of the people is Big Ja. I think I talked about this briefly the other day. Big Ja, they do these comedy skits and stuff like that. And what I like about that crew, and the thing that kind of saddened me about that crew too, I wish I had the money. Like, I wish I was a millionaire already who could say, come guys, let's make this shit work. Because they have the right idea. They seem to be all friendly, all friends. They write for one another. They act in each other's skits. If you watch a Big Ja skit, you're going to see, Sade or, or Fenario or, whatever. And then they have their own channels. And so they have kind of like what KWAZ Radio is trying to do with the podcast, the black podcast type thing. They have it going on, right? But even bigger, right? So they have all this content out there. In fact, a lot of the content is written by a guy named Dame Pierre. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Right? And that's how you do it. The only thing you got to do next is take it to the next stage, right? So the in, if we could consider a guy like Tyler Perry an in, but the in is us, really, right? The in is us really saying, look, we're going to create these things, be it books, be it magazines, be it movies, and we're going to put them up. The same way Uzuli did the Raging Elephant film that he did, the same way we could do it. The same way Major Hype can do all these, these skits on social media and blow up, and then have films that he writes and produces and puts out there, which have gone to a screening of one of his films before. Like, we can do it. If we want it to be something Pan-African, we have to then set up and make the arrangement. We can't wait for anyone else to do it. We gotta go take the film to Nigeria and make the connects with the right people in Nigeria and have the film translated, maybe subtitled or what have you, and play it in there. But every time I do a show, there's a fire truck passing through, right? But we are the in, right? We are the in. Drigo Cooper Photography says, what looks good to us is all based on conditioning. We have been conditioned all our lives by Urugu directly or indirectly. Revolutionary Matron says we have to stop rationalizing the ill treatment we have received. It makes no sense and there is no excuse. Our ancestors suffered and my blood cries out eternally. Absolutely. Rico Cooper Photography says we need to be like NK a little bit. We need our own space and the ability to block out all other propaganda. I'm telling you, if you again, ultimately we're gonna have to change this predicament that we're in where we don't even own our internet. Right, what's it called again? The super information highway, or the information super highway, or whatever it was called back in the day. Right, we don't really own that. They could shut that off. They can shut that off. Right, but if we just learn how to go around this stuff, like I said, man, you have a film that you think the population, the Black society should see, a conscious film, Pan-African film, what have you. We need to start creating those spaces around us so that we could distribute our films so our people can tune in and patronize the work that's being done. And if we want to get it to other parts of the diaspora or to the continent, we got to just physically get our asses up and go there and get the film popping. Rico says, I'm 6 paragraphs in already. I didn't know how long you wanted to go. That's a thing. That's a thing. So while we're doing this, if you guys want to, you could post it in the chat what you think should be the length of a short story. What's the average length of a short story? Let's start putting together a format to it, right? Rico Cooper says, already thinking about the music, locations, lighting, cameras, props, etc. Right? He says, what I'm talking about sounds awesome. Revolutionary Matron says, I agree with Derek, with Rico about space. We have to use our own infrastructure and work out ways. Yeah, you have to work out the ways, man. Right? Right? She also says we have to evaluate proximity. Right, we have a lot of work to do, and we're not you guys here, but a lot of our folks are just playing around. We have real serious work to do, and a lot of our folks, like I said, are just playing around. Right, but thanks for bringing that up. Daily Affirmations by Paulie, and that allowed me to clear up that whole story thing. Let's figure out what we want to do in terms of length, etc. Right, and let's do it in such a way that we can apply it to future prompts. Like I got another prompt from Revolutionary Matron the other night. I'm gonna try post it tomorrow. That could be the next story, or if you want to, work on stories at the same time, you can do it. As a matter of fact, I saw someone post something interesting today, and I had her on the show before in the past. I did an interview with of her and this organization she was a part of, and it seems like the organization put out like an African children's storybook. Yeah, at least it seems so to me. I don't know if the Pro-Black Perspective saw that on Twitter as well, but that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Imagine putting together a compendium of these African-centered or Pan-African centered stories, right? And you put that together in a book, and that's something that can be sold or distributed out to people. It can start bringing up the consciousness of others. Daily Affirmation by Pauline says, I'm seeing the visuals for much of the prompt. Great. Rico Cooper says 640 acres and we can start our own city. Daily Affirmations by Pauline says, I saw that the average length of a short story is 5K to 10K words. Okay, so let's aim for 10K words. I always choose a larger number in a range, just so you know. Right? Revolutionary Matron says to Dorico, REIT. What does REIT stand for again? To 640. All right. Let me see. What's the next prompt? Do you guys have anything else you want to say about propaganda? Right? Do you have anything else to say about propaganda as I pull up the next prompt? By the way, if you're listening here live tonight, make sure to click the like button. I saw we had more viewers than likes a second ago. Now it seems like viewership has dropped a little. That's fine. But make sure to click the like button. And if you're here, you ain't gotta remain quiet. You could post your thoughts on a topic too. You may have a point of view that's necessary, right? You may have a point of view that is necessary. The next prompt says the person that you want may not have a mind for the cause. Do you wait, debate, or move on so that you can get to building with a partner? Oh yeah, Revolutionary Major says it's called Real Estate Investment Trust. Right, that's right. That's right. But that prompt is a relationship prompt. By the way, we have a spot on the Discord for sisters only. In there, you guys have the ability to talk about relationships and talk about networking and investing and etc. Right? You guys can create. Right? You guys can create. You guys can create. Yes. Yes. I was going to mention this too. I just didn't bring it up yet. The Pro-Black Perspective earlier today posted a walkthrough. I guess you would call it a walkthrough video. Yeah, a walkthrough video on a Swahili app that he's working on. Right? He says it's not really propaganda, but it is fun. Right? In a sense, it's a kind of a propaganda too, and it's a real good one, right? So you guys should check it out. In fact, I'll post it on the Discord, and you guys could hop on the Discord and see the walkthrough, right? But I think that's really dope. I don't know if the Pro-Black Perspective is interested in others helping him. He can put that out there if he feels to. Sometimes some of these things, some of these ideas are big, and sometimes you need a little bit more hands, to maneuver them. Daily Affirmation says propaganda is the alias for brainwash, right? Yeah, there's some truth to that. And listen, most of you are should have realized this already. We're here, black folks, upstanding black folks, etc., right? And there's some methed out white boy in a trailer somewhere in the Midwest, like somewhere like Montana, right? Who thinks he's better than all of us here combined. That's only due to the propaganda of his whiteness, right? We have to deal in propaganda too, right? Dorico Cooper says Jambo, and the Pro-Black Perspective says Jambo Habarigani, right? Yeah, I mean that's a good endeavor, I think when I first heard you talk about that app, I think I understood it differently, but it's still all good, right? It's still all good. So you guys, if you're interested in learning more, I will post a video on the Discord, and by all means, if you want to interact with Onitase, I think he's a open enough brother to interact with. You could reach out to him, with thoughts or ideas about the work that he's done on the app so far. Did I post another? Yeah. So I mean, no one's gonna respond to this prompt. The person that you want may not have a mind for the cause. Do you wait, debate, or move on so that you can get to building with a partner? I think that's a good prompt. We should be talking about that a little bit more, right? Let's discuss that on the other side.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Again, on the Discord, there's spaces for the sisters to talk about relationships and stuff. And I think this will probably be a good thing for not just sisters, but I think it'll be good for the sisters on the Discord to discuss this as well. Guys, you've met a beautiful woman. Beautiful inside, beautiful outside. Right? Well, she tells you early on, first date, you start talking about what's going on with this white, quote unquote, the system of white supremacy and one. She tells you, I ain't really trying to hear none of that. What do? You're not only attracted to this person, but you care for them. What do? Do you wait? Do you debate? Or do you move on? Right? This is something we should all be clamoring to answer this one. The pro-black perspective says you move on. Yeah, you get the fuck out of it. If I'm talking to you about some real shit that affects you, me, our potential offspring and all, and you tell me, nah, I'm cool on that. Get out of there. The affirmation by Pauline says your partner may be able to be ushered into being proactive. So daily affirmation, so the way that was stated, I can see that if the two of you weren't conscious and then you became conscious, right? So you've already been in this relationship, you weren't conscious people, right? So you watching every version of the Housewives TV show together. You reenacting some of the shit in your own house too, right? And then one day, one of you sees the light, has the conversion, and becomes a conscious member of the Black society, right? In a case like that, where you've already been together, you might definitely wait around. But like the pro-black perspective said, and he took it right out of my mouth, they have to be humbled though. They're gonna have to be humbled. Right? The pro-black perspective says, I think humility is the most important thing for every person you're interested in teaching / relating with. Exactly. Daily affirmation says, for example, I was ignorant about Rastafarians and their lifestyle. Over time, I learned to appreciate their ideology. Right? Revolutionary Matron says exactly. There's no forcing to wake up, especially as a woman. Yeah, especially as a woman, you ain't got time for that. Why are you there trying to argue and debate with this and convert this fool? You know, this is where one of these folks run up on you, and because he don't have no conscious mindset, the two of y'all would get brutalized by some of these other folks out here. But if he has a conscious mindset, you could expect him to protect. The pro-black perspective say women say trying to change people don't really work. Nah, it doesn't work. Women stay trying to change people. Don't really work. Nah, that don't work. What I will say though, and I've said it before on the show in the past, I'm not putting the burden of society on women, but I will say that if you want better men, you have to give birth to them, number one. You have to teach them in that way, number two. and you have to have a certain standard for who you will give a chance to and who you wouldn't, based around their consciousness, right? Rico Cooper says facts. KW7 says, I do not know how you can build a relationship with someone who is not African-centered. It is a recipe for dysfunction and disaster. That's absolutely true. Revolutionary Matron says, we have very specific reproductive years. We spend our time waiting, not passing on the knowledge, and it dies with us. Absolutely. We don't have all day. We have a finite amount of time here. In fact, even a long life, relatively speaking, is a short one. You don't have time trying to convince nobody about nothing. Right? And again, this is a side note. This is why I don't debate people. What's the point of me trying to argue and push certain points to you? You setting what you want, I'm not going to change it. Pro-Black Perspective says exactly. If you give the cookie to a man who ain't worth it, he not changing. He already got the cookie. I mean, let's be real. I'll be real with you. I wouldn't change. You got to create the circumstances for change. Like I said, you want better men, you got to birth them. You got to rear them, teach them the right way, right? And not try to emasculate them. That's the problem, right? Daily Affirmation by Pauline says, I agree. Parents need to teach their sons and daughters to be proud of our history so they can in turn teach their children the same. That's how it's done. If you ain't doing what Daily Affirmation by Pauline just type there, then you're wasting time. And a lot of our people are just wasting time. Just wasting time. You know, but that's a great question. In this day and age, you move on. Now, don't be an a-hole and ghost someone. I talked about this on my personal social media the other day. That ghosting shit is cowardly. Right? Don't ghost nobody. You stand up and tell them what you have to tell them, and then you move on. Right? I just thought to throw that out there. Revolutionary Matron says, again, we are taught to see each other as objects for sex and production. The Pro-Black Perspective says, yeah, some woman wanted me to be less private after I got the cookies. Sorry, hun. Should have negotiated before then. Now let me get another bite. I mean, man's got to eat. Goes on to say, parents are very important to judge people by. Parents are very important to judge people by. Chaka's here. Boy, I tell you, some of you dudes should be ninjas or something. When we create this African super army, some of y'all gotta be on the team, boy. Chaka them be here and don't say a word, but here he comes and he points out Pro-Black Perspective, they're cupcaking, right? You know you want to say cupcake and not cookie. I'm just kidding. Revolutionary Matron says, so many bought into the ideology of black feminism. That is a myth. My life and plight is tied to the black man. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a thing. That's a good question. We gotta talk relationships more. Like I said at the start of the year. That we got to be more about our health, wealth, and our relationships. We really have to talk relationships more. You know, the idea that some of us have is that you can be conscious and be with a conscious person and be with an unconscious person, and you do you and they do them. But the reality of a relationship is that you have to do the lion's share of things together. For those relationships to work, you have to be on it together. I can't be angry at what's going on around me and your head is in the bubble. Right? And Chaka laughs at what I said, but it's true. You guys should be ninjas or something. But Coach Pete is here. Coach Pete says our black folks are sleepwalkers. Absolutely sleepwalkers. Right? But that what the Pro-Black Perspective said is absolutely correct. frankly, that's how men deal with situations, right? You gonna hold me, you hold me to start. Don't hold me after. Right? That's a great prompt. So now we're gonna get to the more peculiar prompts. Dorico Cooper, you know, he always has some interesting topics. I don't even know where to begin, but I'll type the first one. The first prompt is the New Madrid fault line. The New Madrid fault line. So apparently the New Madrid fault line runs through Missouri. It extends 120 miles in southeast Missouri, the Boot Heel, and into northeastern Arkansas. Okay. When I look up the danger, how dangerous it is, scientists say they believe there's a 7 to 10% chance such an earthquake strikes within the New Madrid seismic zone in the next 50 years. There's a 25 to 45% chance of a 6 magnitude or greater earthquake striking in that time. Dorico, what is it that you want us to be aware of with this New Madrid fault line? I'm curious. I'm gonna lean on your knowledge of it here. What is it you want us to be aware? Is it that there can be earthquakes in Missouri 6.0 or greater in the next 50 years? What is it that you want to know, that you want us to be aware of with this topic? Right. While I get Dorico responding to that, I want to thank the rest of you who are here. Make sure you guys hit the like button. We have more viewers than likes. That means there's folks like, that means there's ninja-like folks here, quiet, who won't throw their star at the like button. Throw your ninja star. Right? We got M. Chaka, Coach Pete, Revolutionary Matron, Pro-Black Perspective, you know, there's Oni Tase, Daily Affirmations by Pauline, Dorico Cooper, KW Dawn 7, we got Jerry Wallace, we got who am I missing now? We got Kevin Care 42, NYC Beauties. Make sure you check out NYC Beauties, his YouTube channel, and as well as NYC Sports Archives. For those are photographers who have these YouTube channels with pictures. Dorico, does your channel highlight some of your work too? Make sure to check out Daily Affirmations with Pauline as well. You know, check out those pages as well. And Life with Nelly, check out Life with Nelly. She mentioned that she posts to show to Twitter. Make sure to check her out as well. Daily Affirmations by Pauline says, I never heard of the New Madrid fault line. Interesting. Revolutionary Matron said, is this another plate shift level event? I remember my teachers in junior high talking about part of the country breaking off. Dorico Cooper Photography says, this is supposed to be the warning before the breaking point. All right, let's add a little bit more beef to those explanations now. Is the pipeline a warning before the breaking point? He says Mississippi River opening up 200 miles in width. Is that due to the pending earthquake, due to the pipelines? Due to this pipeline? So I'm guessing that Dorico is warning us about a catastrophe that would happen 50 years from now due to this pipeline that's being built. So all I can say to that is If you're going to be affected by this, you're in those areas, you might want to consider getting out. The reality of the world, though, because I've heard this over the years, where folks want to leave one geographical location to go to the next just because certain things happen. Like, for example, there's folks like in Florida and stuff who would want to leave Florida because there's a chance of a hurricane hitting them, right? But you go somewhere in the Midwest, there's some chance of a damn tornado touching down, right? You go over to California, there's earthquakes, there's fires, there's, so there's always something. You come to the East Coast, there's snowstorms, there's actually chances of hurricanes sometime hitting out here, in the Northeast, right? There's the winter, the long winter seasons and all that kind of stuff. So there's always something, right? I don't see any more information from Dorico. Well, he said you will be stuck on whatever side of the Mississippi. All right. So that's something to keep in mind. The next topic from Dorico is UFO disclosure June 1st. What is this UFO disclosure on June 1st? And what is it that black folks need to be aware of? Remember, I'm about uplifting black consciousness. So if I'm going to talk about something, I want it to be, something that it's information that we need to know for our own uplift, right? So UFO disclosure on June 1st. What is that about, Dorico? And what do we need to know? Like, what's really important for us to know about this? Right? I saw there was an article, when I saw you posted this, I saw there was an article that had these 5 questions every American must ask. And they said, like, the 5th question was, what is this UFO report going to show? Right? What is it going to show? Is it going to acknowledge interaction between our military and outside beings? What is it going to show? The 4th question is, when is the UFO report being released? The 3rd question was, what media is going to be in the UFO report? The 2nd question is, why is the UFO report so difficult to explain? Right? And the 1st question will be, will the UFO report admit they're aliens? My history with these types of stuff, they talk a whole bunch, they don't admit much. Daily Affirmation by Pauline says she heard some politicians talking about UFOs. The Rico Cooper Photography says many retired submariners are preparing for this event. I assume you're talking about the earthquake due to the pipeline in 50 years. But we're talking about now the UFO disclosure June 1st. What about that should we be aware of? Dorico Cooper Photography says the Missouri Ozarks are where they're buying up a lot of property. What are they using that property for? Is that the property where survivors will go to? Like, what are they using that property for? And while I wait for Dorico to give this information, let me just go back to talking about the Discord. The Discord is a pretty fine tool. If we use it the right way, and we get enough people thinking the way that we think, right? And by thinking, I'm talking about just generally being black first, right? I want to see the uplift of the people. The Discord is a good place to be. So I encourage you guys, if you have friends, family people you think that should be involved, people from, you know, from the society at large. Again, black folks, please don't come with your European friend and them, right? Because right now I'm gonna have to soon start verifying people on the Discord because the numbers are growing. But we want to get more like-minded people. There's strength in numbers, as you know. The more people we can get working on these projects, the better. I'm going to have some updates, things I've talked about in recent days that I'm going to start posting, and we could go over those things. We have the story thing going on. I'd like to start getting a visual arts type thing going. And after that, during this summertime here, I'm going to be looking out for it. I want to start getting musicians on the Discord. Guys like Athrazer, right, who some of you are familiar with, the Pro Black Perspective for sure is familiar with. Want to get guys like that around so we start making music, right, that uplifts the people too, right? We wanna get as many people as we can. So the Discord is what we want to use. There's the link in the description of this episode. There's a link at the top, pinned to the top of the chat. Share that link with folks, or share this video and tell them click the link and join the Discord today. We need numbers to carry out the different ideas that we have, right? Dorico says the Missouri Ozarks is where they're buying up a lot of land. He goes on to say that's survivor property, right? Which I thought. He says black people are the real pilots of those ships. There are no little green men. Doubt that will be in the disclosure. Well, Dorico has said something interesting here. That I don't consider a wild thought. We are made of star stuff, right? We are made of the stuff you find in space. And I've long believed, in fact, I had a conversation with a filmmaker, Erzuli, Gunnar Erzuli. I had a conversation with him about doing a story about that. And funny enough, a little after I talked to him about that story, they had that movie come out called Prometheus. But in Prometheus, they show the starter people of this world. They show them to be like these real white all over type humanoid beings. But I've had that idea of a story, and I kind of have a little bit of an idea that they could, you know, it's possible that's what really happened, that we came from somewhere else, right? We came from somewhere else, you know? He goes on to say, so many retired Navy there that they damn near have their own zip code. You talking about in that survivor property area? Okay. Revolutionary Matron says we are humans. That's why we can create all others. Yeah. So that's interesting. What makes you think, Dorico, this, you should have posted this already by now, but what makes you think, like, what makes you think there are black folks piloting these ships, right? What makes you think there are black folks piloting these ships? So Dorico says Leo Mohammed spoke briefly on the UFO topic, saying that they, NOI, has undeniable proof of the details. Yeah, I'm sorry, when I hear the NOI, I just tune out to that stuff. Because a lot of those guys are Scientologists too. Isn't Farrakhan Farrakhan is a Scientologist himself, isn't he? Right? Hanging around the devils he used to talk about so much. Right? But he's a Scientologist as well. This tall kid who's NOI, what's that kid's name? Damn, I just lost it. But there's this tall, young NOI kid. I can't. Riza Islam. Yeah, Riza Islam. He's also, I think, if not him, his mother is a Scientologist, formerly NOI, and is a Scientologist now as well. But Dorico, if you could just post for me quickly, what is your reason for thinking that black people are the real pilots of those ships? I'd like to be able to read that off on the show, right? Dorico says most of that UFO information is classified 20 levels above top secret. Cosmic clearance. KW Don 7 comes in and say, yeah, Rizza Islam. That's what I was talking about. Right? Yeah, I'd like to know just what Dorico thinks, why he thinks is black folks piloting those UFO crafts. While he answers that, I'll post the final topic for tonight, and that is weather control. Now, I think we talked about this last time. What else do we need to know about the abilities that these folks have to control even the weather around us? What else do we need to know about that? In the meantime, since this is the last topic, I'm going to do a station ID break. I'll come back. We'll talk about the last couple of things that you got to discuss, and we'll call that an episode, right?
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
This is DAX. You tune into the Harsh Reality Podcast, providing you with social commentary on the news affecting our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the pro-black perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
All right, make sure to check out the Queen's Council podcast as well as the others just mentioned. Yeah, so Dorico didn't answer that question. Daily Affirmation by Pauline says, I'm shocked about Farrakhan. Had no clue, and I always purchase his newspaper. Yeah, Farrakhan, man, this is me speaking for me. I wouldn't really mess with Farrakhan and them. Again, you could go on YouTube and look up this stuff. Like, you know, look at Farrakhan's speech where he talks about how they dealt with Malcolm, how they viewed him as a traitor, and they dealt with him as a traitor like any nation would. And I always point this out to people, because a lot of people didn't catch this early on when it first dropped. If you look at the audience, when Farrakhan says that, he divides the room. Listen to people trying to clap. It's scattered claps. It's not a rounding bit of clapping going on. It's scattered. He divided the room. There was people that you could almost hear a gasp, actually. Right? You could almost hear a gasp in the crowd. Right? Not my cup of tea. Daily Affirmation by Pauline says, I'm shocked about Farrakhan, had no clue, and I always purchase the newspapers. Daily Affirmation by Pauline goes on to say, is there a new focus on weather control? Notice Louisiana has flooding again. Dorico says, look at all the natural disasters that are happening globally here recently. Right? And then he says, I'll post some links on the Discord. All right, well, you could go ahead and post on the Discord. We'll check it out. You guys should be checking out the Off Topics channel. There's a lot of stuff Dorico posts there. And you guys could keep up with that information there. He goes on to say hurricanes, earthquakes, lightning, and the sort. So, guys, I want to thank you all for joining me again for another Shoot the Breeze episode. I want to thank you again for joining me for another Shoot the Breeze episode. I'm not going to do a t-shirt giveaway tonight because, and I was talking about this earlier, I think with Kevin Kerr, where I'm getting the t-shirts from, the turnaround takes a while, and I don't like the fact that, you know, I gave away a t-shirt and weeks later I still haven't been able to get them there. So let me get my orders in, and so when I do a giveaway again, I could just hit you up with your t-shirt in a matter of days. All right. The Pro Black Perspective says Asante Hotep. Make sure you guys check out the Pro Black Perspective. I'm guessing he's going to do a reading from the Book of Power, you know, the book that he wrote. You guys make sure to go and check out his episode tomorrow morning. I assume it's around 10 in the morning. Check that out. Check out all the shows on KWAZ Radio. Make sure to give them some support. Make sure to follow KWAZ Radio, the YouTube channel as well as follow them on social media. Right? I just said I'm not awarding a t-shirt tonight. The reason being, like I said, I have a bottleneck with trying to get the order in and then getting the actual product back. So until I get them a bulk order in my hands to make it easier and quicker to get the t-shirts out, and so that I can also keep track of it, we'll do the t-shirt giveaway in another week or two. All right. The Pro Black Perspective corrected me. It's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you guys tune in. All right. Thanks again for joining a Saturday night Shoot the Breeze episode. This is the fifth one. Went well. I appreciate all of you for being here. We will talk again on Tuesday. I will announce on the Discord when I'm doing the Friday night schmooze. Right. I'll announce when I'm going to do that again. You guys could hop on the Discord. We could chat on the voice channel. So the Pro Black Perspective show is tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. I'll talk to you guys on Tuesday. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.